These bucket hats are so easy to make. They are reversible and they are based on a similar size on all of them, but they look so different, don't they? So that's reversible and it has hidden seams. You can't find them at all. This one I have made it differently reversible. So it will be sewn with this seam showing, and the way I hid that seam was to put some bias binding around it, but I wanted to expose that seam for you so you can see that. This one I've not lined, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but you can see that lining them definitely gives it a little bit more substance and a good quality finish. But what I want you to see is the brim on them all. If you look at the way the brim is shaped, this is more straight, flares out a little bit more and flares out a bit more, and I'm going to teach you how to do that for yourself today. Okay, so we're going to do some measuring. So you want to measure around your head and work out where you want the brim to sit and meet your head. Now for most people that I've measured, it's around 56-58 centimeters. So we're going to do some sums here. So we're going to do 58 centimeters. If you do math, circumference equals 2 pi r. So r is the radius, and that's what the measurement we want. But for easy sums, we're just going to do 58 divided by 6.28. 6.28. 58 divided by 6.28 is roughly 9 centimeters. And then we want to widen the hat out so that we've got seam allowance. So we're going to allow a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And the 1 centimeter seam allowance means I've now got a circle with a radius of 10 centimeters. I need to cut my circle 10 centimeters. Cut this into a square like this. There we go. And that's the corner for the whole of the folds. And what I'm going to do is, with my tape measure, I want to make sure I've got a circle radius of 10 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is, from that point, I'm going to measure 10 centimeters. So mark 10 centimeters at various points. Now that's going to be too far away from each other for me to get a good curve. So what I'm going to do is and I'm going to grab my fabric scissors and I'm going to cut my circle. It's just moved a tiny bit. Let me just tuck that back in. And there we go. Get rid of that. And there we are. That's the top of the hat. So we've got the top of the hat. Now we're going to go for the side along here. Now I liked a shorter side. I like the finish that I've got here, which works out 8 centimeters. Okay, so if I'm going to make that 8 centimeters finish, I need to add a centimeter at the top and a centimeter at the bottom. So that's going to give me a strip that's 10 centimeters. So we're going to call this the side of our hat. 10 centimeters. But we need to work out how wide we want this piece. And the way we know how wide we want it is we want it to be half of the circle of the head. So that's the head. Let's put like that. So how long we want that is half of 58. 58 is 29. But we need to add our seam allowances on either side. So that's got to be 31 centimeters long. So we're going to cut a strip that's 31 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So I'm going to draw my line a little bit longer than I to be, and then I'll mark 2 points along that line, the 31, and then along there I'm going to mark 10 centimetres to 0. I'm going to show you how we get that shape. So if I fold this in here, like that, you can see that this is actually not a rectangle, it's a curve. So I'm going to show you how to create that curve. I'm going to fold this in half and I'm going to cut to almost all the way, not quite all the way, so it's sort of it's still hanging on by a thread. Be very careful with that. And I'm going to fold it up again. Just make sure they all match. And then cut almost all the way. So that when I open this, what I can do is I can spread. So what I've done is I've slashed the fabric and I'm going to spread the pieces to create the curve. So I'm going to unroll a bit more of this paper. I'm going to place this along here like that. I'm going to create the curve. So I'm going to lay the first piece nice and straight like this, and then I'm going to spread this as wide as I want. Now, because it's going around the head, you don't actually want it too wide, so I'm only going to spread it by 1.5 centimeters. So I've got a ruler here, and there's my 1.5 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is just pin that down so it's nice and secure, because we need to make sure we do this accurately. I'm going to just bring that at an angle, and then I'm going to bring the bottom of that point so that the two edges, the two corners, meet at exactly 1.5 centimeters apart. Just pop a couple of pins in there like that, and then I'm going to do the same again, the next piece. Carefully pivot that so it measures exactly 1.5 centimeter apart. Pin that into place. That's 31 centimeters, that's 10 centimeters, and that's become 35.5. So the next piece I need to cut out is this brim right on the edge. Now you can make that as wide or as narrow as you want. I've not gone for a very wide brim. In fact, it's 5 centimeters. So I actually made the height to include a centimeter at the bottom and a centimeter at the top, which made it 7 centimeters. So you can cut this next piece. Let's draw it out. It's going to be longer. So this is now 35.5 centimeters. This is 7 centimeters, and then we're going to break this down into 8 pieces. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 there. This time I'm going to break it into 8. I did 2 centimeters between each slash. So that's what we've ended up for a brim, to create an edge like that. We end up with our brim.